NBA playoffs? Let's go. Yeah, love it. For sure. No, I just feel like this time of year, they're, like, actually trying. Like, teams are actually playing defense, you know? And, like, stars just shine brighter in the playoffs. Like, yeah, for sure. Who do you have winning it all? OKC, bold. KD's not there anymore, right? Okay, that's what I thought. SGA, no, he was great in college. Yeah, for sure. I've been hammering, like, Lakers money line. Well, you can't count LeBron this time of year, you know? Like, they lost to who? Denver? Who do they have? Nikola, is he a rookie?
Good morning, sweet world, and welcome to the No Dunks podcast on the Athletic Network. It's Tuesday, May 14th, 2024. I'm J.E. Skeets here in the Classic Factory, and alongside me, as always, Tass Mellis.
Real basketball lovers. This one's for you.
Next to him, it's the bearded one, Matasha Hot Boy, Trey Kirby.
Hey, yo.
And over yonder, making the magic happen, super producer JD.
Hello.
There he is. We got a special guest, though, with us in the factory. He's been on a whirlwind tour. He's already met celebrities like Mariah Carey, Bad Bunny, Vin Diesel, Trey Kirby.
Hey!
Among others, he's forever a champion. And yeah, he's in studio. It's Mr. Larry O'Brien. Larry, welcome to the show. Wow, he's got his own camera shot. Looks good.
Oh, looks great.
We hadn't seen Larry in person in almost a decade now. Did we see him in 2015 before the makeover?
It was definitely a pre-makeover and before we switched studios. So either 14 or 15.
Yeah.
I think 15, though.
Yeah, way back.
Yeah, we saw him a couple of years ago. The discs make it look so different. Going from square to circles on the bottom with every single champion on there now as they engrave them on there every single year. Obviously, we've all taken photos of our favorite teams already.
You guys had one to choose from? That's tough.
Oh, how dare you. Yeah. How dare you. Yeah, it looks good. Oh, nice zoom in there on the rings. A pleasure to have Larry with us here in the Classic Factory.
Oh, look at this shot.
JD's having some fun with these sexy Larry O'Brien shots. Well, look, we got lots to talk about. Larry's going to kick it with us for the entire show. Before we get into the game recaps, we had Wedgie number 62 last night, and fortunate for us, we had the legend Ian Eagle on the call. Take it away.
Doncic, hop step, fake, corner. Oh, a three-point wedgie!
Bird bringing it in the second round. That man loves a wedgie just as much as us. Number 62, which of course is the all-time record. Every wedgie we add here in the postseason just adds to the all-time record.
Ian Eagle really does love wedgies.
He does.
There was another point in the game where Jalen Williams, lefty layup, it almost went in, and his quote was, James Williams shot. I can't talk. Jalen Williams shot nearly wedged in that left-handed layup.
Yeah, he wanted it.
PJ Washington was really smiling after that wedgie there.
That was a great wedgie.
Huge smile. He loved it.
62 on the season. Shout out to Bird for an incredible call. I hope he gets another one or two throughout the postseason here. Let's get into that game, though, because, wow, what a series we have here. SGA scoring 34 points. Thunder overcome the Mavericks to even the series at 2 games apiece. Are we starting with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and the takeover, or where are you beginning with this one?
Well, OKC looked like they were down in the first quarter. This seemed like a game that a young team in the playoffs, hostile environment, would lose because they went down double digits in the first quarter. They stayed calm. They stayed cool. Same thing happened in the second quarter. Stayed diligent. Same thing happened in the third quarter. They kept their focus. It made me flash back to Shai's interview a couple months ago when he was asked, how do you stay so consistent? He said, my life is consistent. That's what this team is. They are rocks. I thought in the first quarter, the Mavs were going to pull away from it because they get up double digits, and I thought Luka giving the ball away over and over really hurt them a couple times where he threw it off the bottom of the backboard that one time, threw it off Josh Giddey's head by accident that one time. He had 7 turnovers. The entire OKC Thunder had 7 turnovers. I mean, to match Luka's number. But obviously it does start with Shai. He was a rock. Just 34 points. He's averaging 32 in this series. Hit a huge deflection with 1:15 left on that Tim Hardaway pass. But all the guys, I think they just fall into a role. As Shai said after the game, like Chet Holmgren had a great night shooting the ball, 6 of 9. It's not like plays were designed for him. He just stepped into it when he could. I thought, even though we had terrible games from like Lou Dort, who was 4 of 14, I thought Daigneault made a good move first quarter. Keep him in. And it paid off in the end because he stayed hard, diligent. He defended, got under Luka's skin a lot. Luka was complaining a lot. Fourth quarter, he hit that 3 early and then a monstrous 3 with 2 minutes left. Jalen Williams. Don't call me Jason Williams, Tess, as I called him. He was 5 of 19 in this game. A bad shooting night, but he had that dunk with 1:30 left in a 1-point game, which was an odd one. Yep. Everybody was upset about with Dallas because they thought it was double dribble. So I think P.J. Washington left where he could have been guarding Jalen Williams and just allowed him to get to the rim there because he thought it was double dribble. Luka Doncic thought it was a double dribble. I guess their equipment or clothing guy was giving the whistle too on the Mavs. Everybody was doing this. It wasn't a double dribble though, I thought.
It's one of those weird ones where they talked about after the game. Zach Zarba, the crew chief, he says in the pool report that they confirmed correct no call. It's not a double dribble because he never controlled the ball. We see this from time to time in games. It's one of those weird ones. It's like, did he control it or did he not? They say no, he didn't, and that's why he then could obviously go past him. But
also, Gafford touched it. I thought that was the bigger part.
There's this too. Yeah, exactly. It's never like he had complete control. Yeah, it was Lively in the corner. But yeah, there was a huge play in a game where he struggled. But SGA, man, I don't want to gloss over this. He carried them to this victory. That's his first real signature win in a postseason, I believe, because they couldn't hit a 3 and they couldn't score at the rim because they were getting blocked every time they were in there. So what did he do? Mid-range, 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 mid-range behind the backboard on that fourth one. It was a clinic, and he gave it to everybody, right? P.J. Washington, he scored on Kyrie. That one behind the backboard on Tim Hardaway Jr., he was just getting to his spots, which we know he can do, and he was carrying them to this, where then finally those guys chipped in a little bit late, but they're not even in this game. They don't win this game without Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Well, shout out to my friend here in our cold open. The stars shine brighter in the playoffs, and OKC's stars were better in the fourth quarter than Dallas's was. Between Shai and Jalen Williams, don't call me Jason Williams, don't call me James Williams. OKC went 17. Those two guys went for 17 points on 7 of 14 shooting. Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, 8 points on 3 of 10 shooting. P.J. Washington got him to the fourth quarter. That's when your stars are supposed to take over, and Luka didn't have it. Kyrie didn't have it. We haven't really seen Kyrie in scoring mode so far. Luka is out of his mind right now, complaining to the referees at all time, and it's affecting him. He's focusing more on trying to get a technical called on Lou Dort for flopping than he is on trying to score. Mm-hmm. And that's been a problem for the Mavs in this series. More turnovers than made shots for Luka in this game. And then you got Shai just knocking down mid-range after mid-range. He went 12 of 16 from the mid-range. That's tied with LaMarcus Aldridge for the most ever in a playoff game. What a throwback. Thanks to ESPN for that one. Also the most mid-range shot made by a player in any game, regular season or playoffs, in the past 2 seasons. There was nowhere else for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to go.
That's right.
It was boxes and elbows all night for the Mavericks. Just waiting there, helping off Edey, helping off Dort, helping off Chet Holmgren. Literally, they would give a shot to anybody to block things off at the rim. OKC went 7 of 27 from 3, 6 of 17 in the restricted area, so the only place to score was in the mid-range. Yeah. And that's where Shai went to work. Really, really impressive stuff. And then, unlike in Game 3, Dallas just couldn't make the little plays. P.J. Washington had a mismatch. Easy hook shot, bricked it off. Kyrie Irving got great separation on a couple of plays with Case and Wallace guarding him. Missed the layup, missed a jumper with nobody around him. That doesn't happen. Had the near steal by Luka off of a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander pass. Instead, it turns into a Chet Holmgren three-pointer. You mentioned the one in the corner where J-Dub gets a dunk with 1.5 minutes left. Tim Hardaway Jr., he passed it to nobody, trying to get the ball to Luka. Easy fast break layup the other way. Then he had all the missed free throws. Dallas just didn't play well enough from a Stars perspective or from a doing the little things perspective. If either of those change, they're probably up 3-1 in this series.
Yeah, 12 of 23 at the free throw line for Dallas. And Luke had a chance to tie the game. I mean, he stepped to the line, hits 2. We got a tie game here. And obviously, badly missed the first one. It wasn't even close. But that was sort of the story for Dallas here, where he had a bad game and nobody could hit from the line.
Yeah, if you like those classic headlines, did this team win it or did this team lose it? I think it's you could say easily that the Mavs lost this one because, the missed free throws, the fact that OKC just couldn't hit a lot of threes, shooting 25% from 3, 7 of 27, and your team hits way more, and you still can't win. They gave this game away. The Luka wasn't in the right mindset. You could hear our man Grant Hill saying it on the broadcast. He is complaining way too much about fouls, and it was entirely true. But he was also just giving the ball away. As we said, 7 turnovers matching OKC. That's a friggin' lot. They just couldn't come through in the clutch many times, over and over and over. And it was cool to see OKC just stay the course.
Yeah.
That's what Dagnall gets them to do. And they had key plays from a lot of guys, like Cason Wallace coming off the bench, Rook coming off the bench with a big 3 at the end of the third, a big 3 just early in the fourth quarter. Like, those plays kept them very, very close, and at the end, they just made enough of them in this ugly, rock fight type of game.
Oh, that third quarter was crazy. Yeah. Like, the defense was obviously amped up. No one could score. Like, it was an extremely low-scoring third quarter, but it kept OKC in. Obviously, they went on their little run in the fourth, led by Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who, he scored or assisted on 18 of OKC's final 22 points over the final 6 minutes of the game. I mean, everything going through him either scoring or then setting up those guys and them coming through, like you said, those timely threes and that big play where Jalen Williams, they thought he was not going to be able to dribble, but he never had possession, so he could, and he dunked it home. Then he had another one late. It's pretty amazing they pulled this out. The youngest team here. You're right, Tass. There were many times in this game where I'm like, "Ooh, this series could be over. Like, down 3-1. That's going to probably be a little too much."
Should have been if you're Dallas to be up double digits in every quarter and then still somehow lose it. It was a different game just to see a young team like that. It was also different because I think every replay in this broadcast, in the history of playoffs, I don't think we've seen this many defensive replays. I mean, it was all defense because there were so much lacking in offense. The blocks were great. Obviously, those guys fighting. OKC playing their little soft zone where they collapse and then they're able to zoom out. Defense was great. We just saw so many of them in this one.
Mavericks franchise playoff record, 13 blocks. Yeah, there was a stretch where it felt like Jalen Williams, J-Dub, was getting blocked every single time. He even had a very reserved bark at the end.
He was like a yappy dog in the bark. I didn't like that at all.
I don't think he really wanted to do it at all almost, but Jared Greenberg sort of addressed him. He's like, hey, he basically was like, hey, you're pretty quiet. And he's like, yeah, he's like, basically, I had a bad game, so I'll do almost like a little yelp.
Yeah.
Wasn't a bark.
He's like, you're not Nick Gallo.
That's right.
That's what it read to me.
Yeah.
We don't usually do this with you.
That's right.
He was done with it. I think they're all sort of done with it at this point. As they
got to keep the bit going, though. I mean, they created this monster, didn't they?
At some point during the broadcast, the Mavs were kind of barking. They were yelling, basically, because the refs got involved when 2 guys got into it, and the Mavs players, PJ Washington, was yelling. And Grant Hill said, a lot of guys out there selling Wolf tickets because they were sort of barking like, was that a Wolf band reference, you think? I don't know.
He likes music.
That's exactly why I wanted to say it. And he also said at some point, I know I sound like a broken record, but we know you love music.
He loves music.
We do know you love music. He was good on the broadcast.
I'm glad you brought up even Grant Hill, who is the nicest man in the world, addressing the Luka complaining nonstop. That's when you know you're going overboard. Us all doing it at home, obviously Thunder fans, I'm sure, upset. Maybe casual fans like, man, this guy complains a lot, or he's always talking to the officials. When you got Grant Hill mentioning it on the broadcast, you're doing too much. Because he is.
Yeah.
And even when he scores, he does it. Yeah. That's the crazy part. It's like he's trying for more or extra.
Or PJ Washington hit a bucket, but because Luka didn't like the call 2 seconds before, that's what he starts talking about rather than the success of the team.
I know.
That's what they should have been focused on. There's no doubt.
Yeah, bad Luka game. 6 of 20 from the field, 2 of 9 from deep. You said the 7 turnovers. And then Kyrie had another single-digit scoring game with 9 points and not a lot of shot attempts. And that's like a pair of guys that averaged, 60 points per game in the regular season? And their average in this series is like almost half that. It's like 37 per game. They need those guys, especially in the clutch situations, to come through. In Game 3, SGA had a bad fourth quarter, and they couldn't get it done. Obviously, he was elite in this one, and the Maverick stars not coming through for the entirety of the game.
They scored 27 points.
Yeah.
That's a half for either of these guys, and that's what we need specifically, I think, from Kyrie Irving. I think Luka will be better in Game 5 just because he will probably be looking for his offense. The last time he looked terrible in a game, he came out and scored 15 in the first quarter. I think he'll have a big Game 5, but Kyrie has been playing point guard mode, distributor.
Yeah.
He's driving in. He's drawing a whole bunch of help, and he's always kicking it out. It looks great until you need him to score. Honestly, the Mavericks need 20-point half Kyrie. They don't necessarily need 9 assists Kyrie. They can pile up assists with Luka getting kickouts. They need somebody else to take a little bit of the responsibility off Luka. That's why Kyrie is there. And PJ Washington has done a great job. 20 points through 3 quarters, scored 1 in the 4th. Because the stars are supposed to score in the 4th quarter. And a lot of it, I think, is on Kyrie Irving. He's just not looking to score. He's looking to be a good teammate. He's doing great. He's playing great defense. Casey Wallace is making it tough for him, but this guy can score on anybody. So I think he needs to have a much bigger game in Game 5.
Random notes from this game. I laughed out loud when SGA went tumbling into the baseline first row, and Tyrese Maxey was very excited to see him and trying to help him up. And it was a great reveal from the camera that he was just like trying to help him out as he was there in attendance. And then someone else sitting courtside, I'm sure you probably noticed this task because you always got your eye on the fans. And she's been there a couple games, I believe. There's a woman in like the second row wearing the Noggin Boss giant hat.
Yeah.
You see, yeah, she's there a lot. So she has stayed committed to the Noggin Boss gigantic hat.
They're just part of NBA culture now. They're at every game. You can see somebody with the Noggin Boss. And I did see 3-point hand guy as well. Not as many 3-pointers to celebrate for the Mavericks, but his hand popped up right in front of the broadcast a couple of times.
Yeah, and if you have a Noggin Boss hat right in front of you, if you're sitting in a seat right behind Noggin Boss, you're not happy because it blocks
seems like
a little bit.
a short woman, though, so I think it's
matter.
if Trey Kirby's wearing a Noggin Boss and sitting in front of you at an NBA game, you're going to be a little more frustrated.
But I don't think so.
Why?
What's the difference?
Sitting down?
I mean, 2 extra inches. Who cares?
Oh well, come on.
Yeah, I think it would be worse.
Gigantic.
I think it would be worse if you see someone short of stature show up and you're like, oh man, I'm gonna have a great view of this game. Then they put on their hat. You're like, no.
Okay. Well, yeah. It's the
You
equivalent
see
of putting
me
on a
roll
top
up, you're like, oh well, I'm not gonna see anything. Period.
Okay, it's different. I was assuming
know in the comments.
assuming she was wearing the Noggin Boss hat when she walked in, but
Yeah,
you're saying
it's hard to hide.
pulled it out and put it on.
Foldable.
You can see it every broadcast.
Yeah,
There's a big hat. Just
it's
there.
right there.
It's
Yeah.
in the broadcast.
Any other notes on this game or this series, which obviously, hey, look, second round's all about pivotal Game 5s. We got
Big
2 tonight.
pigs.
We got a pivotal Game 5 in this series. But anything else from this one or this series?
A couple things. No Gordon Hayward in this game. For the first time in the playoffs,
Right.
no Gordon Hayward. It is pretty incredible that OKC traded 3 players for this guy, and they still played 10 players without playing Gordon Hayward. That's a lot of players that they play, and they were able to overcome it. Good move by Mark Dagnall, that's for sure.
A little Kenny Hustle we saw instead.
Instead, yes.
Williams,
yeah, there's a lot of players coming off the bench. And one thing about PJ Washington, led the Mavs in points again, 2 games in a row, basically 3 games in a row because he was tied with Luka for that other one. Captain Corner was the nickname that came out of Iron Eagle, and I know you like to call him the Chevy Trax because he's
just reliable.
He's reliable, but he's better now. He's way better.
You're saying he's better than a Chevy Trax?
Yeah, well, 100%. Number 1, he's better than a regular Chevy Trax because every Chevy Trax is regular. But number 2, he's just been better.
Wow.
Well, he's been better.
What about the touring edition of the Chevy Trax? Updated trims.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask.
I don't have that, so I can't speak to it.
V8 engine.
So what do you think?
I doubt they do this for the Chevy Trax.
Yeah,
maybe he's a Lumina.
He's
well,
been
can you call him a
incredible.
touring edition? I mean, there needs to be some sort of improvement.
Yeah.
Maybe because Kia sponsors the NBA, maybe there's a Kia tie in there, like the EV6.
Oh, maybe.
He's electric.
Oh, it works.
Something. But Captain Corner's not bad.
He's been incredible, though he did start to go cold, unfortunately, at the wrong time in this game. But that's also part of OKC's game plan, right? It's like, well, okay, this guy's got to miss at some point, right? He has to. Eventually, my Chevy Trax runs out of gas, okay? It doesn't go forever.
You got to refill it.
It's not electric either. I can't plug it in. So, yeah. But he's done more than you can ask for in this series.
Oh, yeah.
Now it's up to Luka and Kyrie here in the final sort of best of 3 series here to see if they can do. One thing to watch with Luka, and he's been doing this all series long, I would just like to see him be more aggressive right away finding his shot off of the pick. The pick comes, he moves off it, Dort fights, of course, around it or through it or under it to get back. Luka waits for him. Watch it. He looks back all the time. Now, he's looking back because he's probably like, well, where is he? Well, how fast is he coming? Is he right there? I just like to see him go a little bit more. The shots are there. He could just go around the pick and take the shot. Now, that's not really his type of shot. I get it. He's not SGA like that, but it's there. So he just waits. He literally just allows Dort to come on back, and then almost like, well, now maybe I can try and draw the contact here. It's like he's trying to make every shot an and one.
He is.
Yeah, it's like, just maybe go for the easy 2 here. Just take that jumper. You can knock it down. We know you can. So maybe that'll be a tweak or something to watch here. But man, what a series. Teams are battling, man. It is a fight between the squads.
Dallas could have put OKC away.
For sure.
Pretty much.
For sure.
Yeah.
If it was 3-1, I can't imagine a lot of people would have been like, yeah, the Thunder got 3 straight in them. That would have been tough to talk yourself into with the way Dallas has played for most of the series. But yeah. Anything else, TK?
Josh Giddey. Part of a key run in the third quarter.
He was
a 9-2 run, if I'm not mistaken. He finished at +5?
Yeah, something like that. +5,
That's acceptable.
6. Yep.
+6? Okay. Yeah. Keep bringing him off the bench. It's fine. It's fine. You don't have to play 10 guys. You do not have to play 10. Like Kenrich Williams, thanks for coming, buddy.
Right.
Aaron Wiggins kind of looking like a Josh Giddey out there, the way they're guarding him, but at least he can bring something defensively. So there are still moves, I think, for Daigneault to make here.
Yeah. Giddey fights defensively, but yes, he is more of a guy that would be ideal being the ball handler as a second unit guy, because they have other ones that can do it with the first unit. There's no doubt. But, he is fighting, and I'm sure they're looking at a different lineup for next season. But, yeah, Aaron Wiggins didn't have an awesome game. So all the guys who come off the bench, they literally played 13, 10, 18, 15, and 8. Just minimal guys. Just come in and do the job, along with Giddey, who played 12. As a starter, well, you got 4 starters playing 40 minutes, and then your other 6 are just minimal guys just to get it done, and they did. Kudos to Daigneault. Oh, one other thing. I did notice every time Mark Daigneault is talking to his players, he always says, "You got it," or at the end of it. Did you notice that?
No, I didn't.
basically.
So he gives them some a tip or something or a game plan, then he makes sure
he says we got it. Like the secondary drives are good, but the initial penetration's got to be better. We got it. So he does that. It's like talking to a child. It's good. It's a good move. That's a good tip for me.
That's
right. You get him thinking. Get him thinking. It's an interesting move.
Okay, I'll watch that for Game 5.
Got it.
All right,
got it.
Let's go to the other game.
I'm sorry, I said Jason, not Jason. We got it. Okay, go on.
Tatum's 33 points helped the Celtics down the shorthanded Cavs 109-102 in Game 4. So this is our one series in the second round that is not 2-2. Boston's up 3-1. And look, an hour or two before this game, we learn Donovan Mitchell's not playing in Game 4 because of a calf injury that he sustained at the end of Game 3. And everyone's like, oh, wow, that sucks. That all said, the Cavs put up a fight. They stuck around for a long time in this game, but Boston gets it done. TK, your thoughts?
Yeah, Cavs played hard. They've been resilient all season. Their best stretch of the year this year was when they were missing players. So not a surprise that they would play well. And Jayson Tatum mentioned post-game, they're going to play with a lot more freedom, a lot more opportunity. They definitely switched up the game plan and said, we're shooting as many threes as we possibly can. Yep. Darius Garland mentioned that as well. But I think this is just nice for the Celtics to actually play a close game in the playoffs, come through with a clutch win, and getting big performances from Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown, who were both really good, I thought, particularly in the fourth quarter. 33 for Tatum, 27 for Brown. They connected on that last play where Tatum basically drives and kicks. He finds Jaylen Brown, knocks down the three. Jaylen Brown is upset at 2 people. After making the dagger, he's mad at Tyler Ford for running into him on the wing, right. And he's mad at Jayson Tatum for slapping him in the chest when he's trying to talk to Tyler Ford. I thought that was a hilarious thing. But you love to see that from your 2 stars showing up in the biggest moment of the game. We know the Cavs didn't have their guy in Donovan Mitchell to maybe take them over the edge, but the Celtics did a good job, Tatum in particular, getting downhill, making plays. When he got cut off, found Jaylen Brown for the easy 3. Simple basketball, but they executed down the stretch and pulled off a good win the first time they're really tested. The first time they've actually had to do something that matters in the fourth quarter. They came through.
Yeah, the first official clutch minutes of the postseason for the Boston
Unbelievable.
Celtics. We're almost through with the second round.
Yeah, Game 8. Here you go.
Yeah.
And Tatum, definitely was saying it's nice to play in one of those. It is good for the Boston Celtics as they go into the conference finals, because that is going to happen. And it's great to see the best Tatum game, and 2 games back-to-back now, dropping 33. Because at the beginning, I thought it was a great game for him where he was distributing. It wasn't just a one-on-one, I'm good enough. He was getting into the lane and making the pass. But then when he knew he could take a guy, he could also do that because he's that good. He tried to crown Tristan Thompson with King James in the building. That's right. It almost happened. And, yeah, he's just getting hot at the right time. If there's a right time here for the Boston Celtics to get hot for several weeks, it would be this one, including Jrue Holiday has also gotten hot at the right time.
Yep.
Great defense, obviously, as he always does. Like Darius Garland getting to the rim, and he just devoured him. He gobbled up a block, and then he blocked Garland in the corner. He looks so good. And then on offense, step back three, hit another step back. He just looks good. And as Tatum said after the game, that guy and Derek White, they're our anchors of our defense. That's why they got them. And that's why they got Jrue Holiday for these moments.
Yeah, they're the anchors of their defense, and then it seems like they just alternate on who's going to have a good offensive game for them. There was a stretch where Derek White couldn't miss a three-pointer. Now he's gone ice cold, but Jrue Holiday over the last 2 games has stepped up. The Celtics' offensive formula was very similar to what happened in Game 3. It was Tatum, monster game, or his best game in the postseason. It was Jaylen Brown doing his thing, and then it was Jrue Holiday. This was another good Jrue Holiday game. 16 points, 7 boards, 5 assists, 3 steals, a block. He hit 4 threes. I saw a stat here, including the playoffs. The Celtics are 22-1 when Jrue Holiday scores at least 15 points. So they're next to unbeatable when this guy is just contributing a little bit on the offensive end. And that's now back-to-back games where he's played really well. And you're right about the Cavs. After the Mitchell injury, it was like, game plan was like, we just got to fire away from deep.
Yeah.
And they did. And it worked for the first half. I mean, they hit 11 three-pointers. Strus couldn't miss. And then in the second half, things dried up. I mean, obviously the Celtics focused a little bit more on trying to take those away or make them a little more difficult. I think they hit 4 three-pointers, the Cavs did, over the final 24 minutes. And that was obviously enough for Boston to win. They hung in there. It was like that cat poster. They were hanging in there. But, I couldn't believe they took a lead in the third quarter. At one point, it was 65-64. It was a brief lead, but they had it. And then, it was like a 5-point game at one point in the fourth. And I think Strus even had a decent look at one on the wing that probably would have, blew the roof off that place. But he missed that one, and then the Celtics sort of coasted from there.
Yeah, Max Strus got more of a role in this one, hit 5 big threes. As Tatum said, we knew that other guys were going to step up because they got the freedom, to play more. And you finally saw why these guys signed Max Strus to that big deal. He finally was just letting it rip, so it was good to see him have one game. It was disappointing to see Donovan Mitchell not in the game, not in the report, obviously. I saw that on Sunday that he was questionable. I clicked X on that tab. I didn't want to believe it.
So did I. I was like, he's going to play. Yeah.
And I assumed exactly that he would play. But it is wild to see the Cavs just fight without him. And it is wild to see a basketball player with a baseball hat of his team on the bench. Don't you think? He was wearing a Cavs
baseball cap.
Baseball cap, yeah. Just, you don't see that very
He's
often.
a big baseball guy.
He's a big business.
That's true. Yeah.
Dad works in the business.
He was rocking it.
Yeah. But it had a sticker on it, so I don't know if it was new.
Or if he was just doing it to look cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
I love a holographic sticker. I can't complain.
Yeah, they're good.
You mentioned LeBron there in attendance, sitting courtside with his wife and Rich Paul and a bottle of wine under the seat. Yeah, really nice.
Cup of coffee.
Yeah, and a cup of
3
coffee.
Bottles of water. Yeah,
This guy was very thirsty there. What'd you think of the Jaylen Brown, Max Strus incident? I know. I say incident. It was a bit of a nothing burger, but man, did we look at it forever on the broadcast. It was the one where Jaylen Brown hit a jumper. He falls to the ground, and Strus sort of falls on top of him. His sort of foot's by his head, and then Jaylen's like, "All right, that's enough. Get your foot out of here," and sort of like, I don't know, pushes the foot, I guess, and Strus fell down. Oh, hold on, let's look at it. Oh my God! They ended up calling it just a common foul, which was the right call, if anything.
I didn't even remember that.
Yeah.
Didn't even remember.
So
I do remember it was Strus, right, that grabbed Jaylen Brown's arm behind his back, and Jaylen still made like a little flippity-flip shot.
Yeah.
I think that was right after the Cavs had tied it, too. That was a pretty big shot.
Huge
Jaylen
shot.
Brown is good, man. He's really good. We never talk about Jaylen Brown.
It's true.
And he's scoring 25 a game in the playoffs, shooting great percentages. Comes through when they need him the most. He's awesome.
I'm glad you brought that up. I looked at it the other day after Game 3 when he had that really good game. I went to Basketball Reference. I did the whole career playoffs for Jaylen Brown, searched by game score, right? Which gives you a good idea of was it an elite game? 2 of Jaylen Brown's greatest basketball games in the postseason have come in this series.
Sure.
2 of his top 10 is what I should say. I don't know where this one falls. I forgot to check. But yeah, he's been amazing for them. And you're right, it just goes completely under the radar. The whole Celtics team, like because of their matchups and who they're playing, some of the injuries to the teams, and everybody just assumes they should be in the finals. So it's we're not really doing deep dives on them. I think people were starting to go, when it did get close in the fourth quarter, and it was Boston sort of reverted a little bit back to ball watching and one-on-one time, which they do. And then they sort of got out of that funk a little bit, but we'll get more excited, I think, as the postseason goes on here with this team.
When in the finals, when they actually play a real team.
Yeah, they have a very nice path to the NBA Finals set up for them. It would be a huge disappointment if they're not there. Right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Especially with what's happened to the Knicks if they get to the conference finals.
Exactly.
And they're all so beat up.
Yeah.
I mean, the team that's the healthiest would be the Pacers.
That's true.
Which they should beat.
Yeah. Did you notice JB Bickerstaff and his crossed arms?
No.
I wasn't paying attention to the cross.
Oh my God, I'm telling you.
The cross boy.
I was tracking it for a while. Any ISO Bickerstaff shot. At one point, we were 6 for 8 on any time they went to an ISO shot. Arms across. He puts the one up like that. He takes the one up like that. I guess like that. It's amazing.
One hand
and then he'll sometimes do something, and then it just goes right back. That's his comfy pose.
You think he's trying to give off a tough guy vibe or more an unbothered vibe?
I don't know what to do with my hands vibe.
Oh.
Yeah. That's what I
What are you
think.
supposed to do? Cross
this
them
is good.
Cross them or pocket them? Can't just stand there arms down.
Yeah, it's a little
Mummy
weird.
style would be pretty weird.
Yeah, maybe you want to hold something.
Just always
almost.
doing stuff.
I'd want to hold a little, not a clipboard, but a towel, Jerry Tarkanian style, biting on it.
It's nice to hold something.
Yeah,
we've
like a pen even.
Anything.
Just clicking.
Done TV for
Making notes.
Anyway, watch
been on TV for so long, I still don't know what to do with my hands in pictures. It's just what do you do with them? I'm sure he was doing it after the game when he complained about free throws.
Yeah.
But I didn't really see a big problem.
7 free throw attempts?
24-7.
Yeah. I know Garland was saying, I'm driving in there. I'm getting hit all the time. Why ain't I going to the line more?
Yeah.
Probably fair. Garland did have a good game, too.
Yeah, he did.
He did fight through it.
Which is on one hand, great. On the other hand, it's man, why does this guy always have good games and Donovan Mitchell's not there? Oh, yeah, he's got the ball in his hands and he gets to, be more of a point guard and sort of an attacking guard like that. But that's for the offseason. Anything else?
Do you think LeBron wore a backwards hat because JJ Redick got called out for wearing a backwards hat on the podcast?
Wow. Called out.
Oh, wow.
Who said this again?
Colin Cowherd, right?
Yes.
And the idea was you can't take him seriously as a coach because he wears a backwards hat.
I think if you're wearing a backwards hat, you're not coaching in the NBA. You're moving my couch.
Yeah, he said he looks like a guy that would move my couch.
For wearing a backwards hat.
That's a good question, though. Spin it into which coach would be the best mover. Would you hire? Would you trust the most to move your possessions?
That's a great question. That is a really good playoffs question.
Darvin Ham would have been good.
Oh, he's
Big,
stocky.
strong dude. Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah.
Who else? I was honestly thinking Chris Finch, but I know he has an injury. But he
Not him.
He looks like a sturdy guy to me.
It's good. Yeah, before the injury, maybe.
Oh, Joe Mazzulla? Joe Mazzulla would be I can move all this myself.
Yeah. And he would come up with crazy ways.
Do you just help? Nah.
Chuck it all out the window.
Yeah.
He's galaxy brain thinking, way to move you. Yeah. The only other note I have is, did you see the free T-shirts they handed out last night before Game 4? I sort of mailed this one in. This was a pretty basic playoff shirt, and it just says Cleveland Cavaliers, Eastern Conference semifinals, a white shirt, and there's a tiny little playoff logo.
Worth every penny.
Yeah.
Eastern Conference semifinals.
Yeah.
Makes it sound like you went deep
It does.
when you call it the conference semifinals.
It does look like you went quite far.
That's why they named it that. For
Yeah,
sure.
definitely.
Comic Sans would have been funny
That would
for the
have been
font.
funny.
That would have been a nice tie back to Cleveland, but okay. Anything else? Do you think this is over in Game 5? You think Boston will close the door on this series?
Absolutely.
Whether or not Mitchell plays, Jared Allen, I assume is not returning.
We have seen them scrap. So it will be a series, but...
Or a game.
A game. I mean, it's been a series. Everybody predicted 5.
It's true.
And then many people who picked it 4 just thought Boston was going to roll. So Cleveland has earned a little respect.
Mm-hmm. You believe this is over?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, but it is in Boston, so advantage Cleveland.
Yeah, they're horrible at home.
Yeah. They got a chance.
What's the record?
14 and 14 the past 3 seasons at home during the playoffs.
They haven't lost on the road yet.
Yep.
They're good on the road. All right, let's get to some news in the NBA world. Brandon Ingram could be on the move this offseason. On Sunday, NBA insider Mark Stein reported that there's a growing belief league-wide that the Pelicans will be aggressively, to use Stein's word there, exploring the trade market for Ingram before the start of next season. Stein also reported that the 76ers, Cavaliers, Hawks, and Magic have shown some interest. Your thoughts, TK, on some Brandon Ingram trade rumors here?
Well, I think he's going to be traded. I think he is absolutely going to be traded. Mark Stein also wrote, Ingram's exit is increasingly viewed by various league observers as an inevitability rather than a possibility.
Yeah.
His contract expires at the end of next season. He's extension eligible heading into this year for a big one, $200 million. Basically, going to be 27 years old by the start of next year on a $36 million contract. Brandon Ingram is still good.
Absolutely.
He doesn't have a great rep right now because
No.
it didn't go well in the playoffs for him against Lou Dort coming back from a hyperextended knee. He got right back in just for the playoffs and looked completely rattled. But go look at his playoff series in 2022. 27 a game, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, shot 48% from the floor and 41 from the three-point line. Brandon Ingram is still solid going into the prime of his career, but the mix with him and Zion Williamson isn't perfect. So it makes sense that Ingram would be the guy to move, especially when you look at the Pelicans roster. They got Herb Jones and Trey Murphy III, who are both ready for big roles as a wing there. So a little duplication with Ingram and Zion being the main guys. I think that the Pelicans will probably want to upgrade the Jonas Valanciunas spot as well. He's a free agent now. So things are changing in New Orleans, and it makes sense that Ingram would be kind of the first domino to fall for them.
Yeah, his only issue is being able to stay on the floor, as we saw even going into the postseason this year, but his numbers are incredible. I didn't think that I'd be looking at trade machines at this time of year. I just didn't think it. But
Sorry to do it to you.
But it's totally true. When they got bounced, it sure feels like the guy who would be moved. And it would make sense that he would be moved for a center who can shoot the 3 ball to give Zion Williamson as much room as possible in the lane. So the 76ers rumor makes a lot of sense to replace Tobias Harris as the air quotes number 3 guy.
Right.
Brandon Ingram is phenomenal in that role, but I don't really see what the Pelicans would want from the 76ers roster in return. I don't really see it. The Magic would also make some sense.
Right, they could use some scoring punch,
yeah,
for sure.
Again, for another center who can shoot the 3. So a Wendell Carter, Jonathan Isaac pack works, which could make sense for the Pelicans. I even went as deep as the Bucks, who weren't mentioned in these rumors, but a Brook Lopez for Brandon Ingram, along with a Pat Connaughton and a minor other contract, does also work in exchange for Brandon Ingram. Yeah, I don't know what the Bucks how they would benefit from that from the center spot, because then they would have no center.
To be honest, he could play center.
He would have to,
yes,
100%. I don't know how much he would love that, but anyway,
time for him to be a center. He's old.
It would make sense. Yeah.
How about the Atlanta Hawks as a possible Brandon Ingram trade team, where they maybe are trading one of their obviously star guards for a star wing like Brandon Ingram? Can you see something like that?
I would not be surprised if Brandon Ingram is playing here come
Atlanta
next season, because not only do the Hawks have a guard to trade, I think it would probably be Trae Young in this instance going to play with Zion. That might be a nice match. But you mentioned the centers, and that the Pelicans are going to want a center with no Valanciunas. Capella or Okongwu can probably be had from the Hawks right now, considering they got the number 1 pick. So what, you trade Trae Young for Brandon Ingram, you send in Capella, you draft Alex Sarr, suddenly your team is DeJounte Murray, Sarr, and Brandon Ingram. That's a lot of length on the perimeter and inside as well. You could sell that as an exciting new team going forward. I wouldn't be surprised if he's an Atlanta Hawk.
There's something there. The Rockets, I'm going to just bring up as well, only because they did go big game hunting, if you want to call it that, around the trade deadline. They, a lot of reports that they wanted Mikal Bridges. They wanted sort of that type of wing. Now he's more of a defensive-minded guy. I get all that. Ingram's more of a scorer, but maybe with all of the talent they have and what they could put together for a package. The Pistons, they need all the talent in the world. Would they look to move? Jaden Ivey was struggling to get on the floor for Monty Williams, and they've got obviously Cade as their point guard. Could there be something there? At least the basis of a potential trade package. We'll be firing up that trade machine. Don't you
better
worry.
believe it.
Don't you
worry.
worry.
The Pelicans definitely have some issues. We saw CJ McCollum in the playoffs struggled big time.
Yeah.
So there's that issue as well. It's building around Zion.
It's sort of refreshing to hear David Griffin, who's obviously in control of that roster, to like basically say like, yeah, we had a good regular season, but disappointing playoff, and we're not running it back. We're not doing the same thing here. We're going to make some switches. Obviously, we like a couple of our pieces, or a lot of our pieces, but we can maybe make a better team. Like, that's the thing. You can trade Brandon Ingram and get back players that are maybe not as good as Brandon Ingram. Doesn't mean they're going to be bad, though. Maybe they'll just fit better.
Absolutely not.
Especially if it's like multiple guys or something like that. But yeah, Ingram's stock right now, it's low because he was in the torture chamber and he had a very bad postseason. 14, 15 points per game in that series. Like, that is nothing for that guy. In other news, according to Shams and James Edwards III, the Detroit Pistons appear interested in hiring Minnesota Timberwolves head executive Tim Connelly as president of basketball operations. He can move himself. Maybe Chris Finch taught him something. Whether or not Connelly returns to the Wolves, league sources say he is likely to opt out of the final year of his contract. Seems likely that he'll return to Minnie, but if Pistons owner Tom Gores is willing to offer something like $15 million annually, that could be enough to pry Tim Connelly away from Minnesota.
Well, he's got longer than just this next year, right, that he could opt out of. He has signed a 5-year deal 2 years ago for $40 million. So he's got plenty of years left. But if he can opt out, period of a contract, that is rare for an executive, a president of basketball operations to have an opt-out year. And I think it is here in year 3. And maybe he sees what Pistons gave Monty Williams. They gave him the Godfather contract. Even what he signed with the Timberwolves. 5 for 40, 8 per. That's still a lot of money. Now, he signed it with Mark Lowry and Alex Rodriguez and Glenn Taylor. And we all know what's happened there. He got the approval from all of them, met all of them in that. And maybe he's not happy with the battle over who is going to win the Minnesota Timberwolves ownership, because they are still going at it. Right. There's arbitration that's going to happen this offseason. So maybe he's not happy. But that is hilarious. That whole scenario is really, really interesting. I listened to the Pablo Torre podcast, had our man Zach Harper on to talk about the Timberwolves drama, what is going on with their ownership. And apparently Glenn Taylor bought out minority owner Bill Sexton's 2.9% ownership. So that sprung him back into the majority percentage. So now he runs things again, just because he did that over the last couple months when everyone was worried about, does A-Rod and Lowry have enough money? But Glenn Taylor made a nice move, apparently. Sort of under.
It's like succession here.
It's interesting. So there's lots of interesting stuff going on.
So the Pistons, this is a no-brainer. Go get this guy if you can. Throw all the money in the world if that's not an issue. It's whether or not he's going to opt out, or he wants to stay in Minnesota, move forward with that team and their championship aspirations, or just like start over and do it again in Detroit. Like he really can't lose in the series Tim Connelly's in right now. Either Minnesota beats the Denver Nuggets, okay, awesome, because you put the team together, or the Denver Nuggets beat the Minnesota Timberwolves. You're like, yeah, I put that team together too. That's my work as well, to some extent.
To some extent.
Yeah, I
mean, he didn't draft Anthony Edwards or Karl Anthony Towns. Those guys are pretty good.
Right.
Yeah, he made the Rudy trade with the Wolves.
Yeah.
He did the Nuggets. He deserves more for the Nuggets than the Wolves.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
He drafted Jokic. That's pretty awesome.
Yes.
But also the funniest possible guy that the Pistons could target, because they've been signing centers for 2 straight seasons, and they're like, hey, this guy loves centers.
Yeah.
He's built 2 teams around centers. Maybe it'll work for us, but honestly, I think this is just smart stuff from Tim Connelly to have his name in the mix here, because it's going to drive the price up for him to stay with Minnesota.
Right.
Because I don't think he's going to go to the Pistons. Why would you do that? You go from a championship team to a championship contender to the worst team in the league? Doesn't make sense to me, unless you want to get paid a ridiculous amount, just like Tom Gores had to do with Monty Williams. Monty Williams didn't want the Pistons job. He was on vacation. They said, no, we'll pay you way too much money. We'll break the record for the biggest contract for a coach ever. That's how they got him.
Tom Gores is basically the $1 million man, Ted DiBiase.
Everybody's got a price.
That's right.
And you can fire Troy Weaver if you come work here. We'll let you do that.
Yeah. So the Pistons were denied permission to interview Milwaukee's John Horst last week, was within this article. That said, as they wrote, it's possible that the Bucks were posturing to get assets from Detroit in order to take Horst, who signed a multi-year deal with Milwaukee in 2021. It always blows my mind that we can trade assets for these guys, for executives.
Doc Rivers.
Yeah, I know. It always surprises me. It's like, oh yeah, you can do that. Interesting. Final piece of news: Bronny James, the son of NBA superstar LeBron, is expected to stay in the 2024 NBA draft. I know he was at the Combine there yesterday, knocking down threes. Bronny, who suffered a cardiac arrest last July before returning to the court for his freshman season at USC, has been fully cleared to play by the NBA's fitness to play panel, and again, will participate in all these pre-draft activities. So Bronny sticking in the 2024 draft, which has a lot of people excited. There's a lot of debate. Is this guy even worthy of being a pick at all? First round, let alone second round. And then what that means if a team does select him, what it means for the possibility of LeBron joining him, if at all. Your thoughts?
Right. And that's why LeBron James and the timeliness of when he can decide to come back to the Lakers is very interesting, because it's after the draft to see who would draft Bronny James.
Right.
And see if Bronny James enters the draft at all, because he could still say, I don't want to be in the draft, because he is going through this process now, the Combine and getting scouted and being told all the information that comes from NBA teams. You should go back and work on this or do this. And so we don't know if he's going to come out of it.
Right.
But he sure looks good at the Combine.
He was on fire.
He's splashing 11 threes in a row, and he didn't shoot well from three-point land last year in his 1 year of college, only 26%. But that was coming off of a cardiac issue, and that was no training camp, and so that was very different. He was a much better shooter in high school, according to our Sam Vecini. Not that I know anything about it, Bronny James high school, but apparently he was much better. And I like the measurements. I like talking measurements from the Combine.
Baby.
They look good. He was a lot shorter than he was listed at. 6'4".
He's not 6'4". Yeah.
He's not. He was listed at 6'1.5" with no shoes at the Combine.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Put on some shoes, though. You can be 6'2" for sure. Probably 6'3".
Yeah.
That's a good enough size for a guard on the bench. 6'7" wingspan.
6'7" wingspan.
Great athlete.
Great vertical.
Sounds like Alex Caruso to me.
There you go. 3-and-D, this guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You're not going to be LeBron James Sr., but you can be LeBron James Jr.
Yeah, and in a draft where there ain't a lot of great people, according to the draft experts, it's not looking good right now. So this would be the draft to enter if it was for him. And the Lakers the Lakers have a number 55 pick. They don't have a first round pick, but they have the 55 if he lasts that long. But it will be interesting.
Any thoughts on Bronny sticking in here?
Well, obviously he's going to get drafted. If he stays in the draft,
Yeah.
he's pretty well connected in NBA circles, so I think it means he knows he's getting drafted. And the question will just be if a team decides to reach for him because they actually think LeBron is a package deal here. But I don't know. If his name's not LeBron James Jr. and you see a guy that's 6'2", with a 6'7" wingspan, who can play defense, who's a good athlete, that player gets drafted. That's not crazy to me.
Yeah, because by all accounts, he's a really smart player and defensive-minded, and maybe the offense is a work in progress. That's a lot of these guys at this point. But it'll be just interesting if he's I don't think he's going to be a lottery pick, but first round. I don't see why one team wouldn't do that. I mean, there's a lot of these, we forget that, not every pick taken in these, 60 guys is, there and contributing right away. There's a lot of names that unfortunately, you don't even learn because they're, never a part of the equation of these teams.
Especially in a draft like this.
Right. So we'll see. We're not draft experts. But, man, the shot looked good in the three-point contest at the draft Combine. Which, I see some people, Sam Vecini being one of them, who is obviously all over this stuff. He's like, I don't even care about that. That doesn't really mean a whole lot to me. These are NBA players for the most part. They can all hit, wide open threes and, in rhythm like that, but it's obviously not game-like three-pointers where he did struggle.
There are some games today, apparently. That's how the Combine works.
Ooh.
5-on-5, huh?
Yeah, or it might be canceled. That's also how it might work.
Oh.
But anyways, maybe it's on the NBA app. Maybe people are
we'll check.
Enjoying it.
We will check. All right, before we go, let's get to Tweet of the Night.
Tweet of the Night. Wow.
More Combine talk from my friends here.
Oh, wow.
We got a tweet from Brian J, NBA, and it's a clip of Zach Edey running at the Combine. I believe that belongs to Mr. Gilmore.
Oh, what a reference.
Looking like Happy's boss and Happy Gilmore chasing down Shooter McGavin for the gold jacket.
7'4", man. That's not bad.
Not bad at all.
He beat a couple guys I saw. He wasn't last.
Yeah, if you lose to Edey, it's bad for the draft stock.
Yeah.
I would have to imagine.
Yeah.
I saw him do the drill around the sort of the lateral pylons, like you're going side to side like you're playing defense. You looked faster in that. You looked agile.
Wow.
I was surprised.
He had a better vertical than Donovan Clingan, I saw. But I also saw that there's ways to game
The vertical.
Yeah.
Wow.
When you do your standing reach, you don't reach as high.
Oh, classic. Oh, my arm.
That's as high as I can get it, and then you jump, you're like, wah!
It is a weird way to measure the vertical.
Yeah, that's what that's what Reed Shepherd did. The guy from Kentucky, they're like, whoa, he's only 6'2", and his arms barely reach over his head. Suddenly, he's got a 44-inch vertical. Pat Connaughton, you think that guy jumps 40 inches? I don't think so.
Yeah.
So they just don't put their arm up.
Right.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
It's so
like they give it like an average reach, whatever, rather than
like really stretch.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, smart. Gain a couple inches doing it that way. We got to go to the draft combine one day.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, now we know how to cheat the
invited.
system. We're going to have 40-inch vertical. We'll put my arm up like this.
smart.
So we were invited.
I thought so. There's some chatter about it. It never really happened.
Oh, okay.
Right, JD? Am I right? There was some chatter.
You want to get us out to the draft combine?
There was some chatter for sure.
We might mess around and get drafted.
That's what they were scared
They're
of.
terrified of that. Yeah, like, wow. Well, these guys can actually play. All right, before we go, 2 pivotal Game 5s tonight, guys. We got Pacers-Knicks. We've got Wolves-Nuggets. These are huge.
Oh, baby.
These feel like, possibly, there's a reason why they're pivotal when it's 2-2, that if you win this one, maybe you're moving on. But that is tonight. Can't wait for those. We'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. And, we got to give it up to Larry. Just kicking it here the entire time. The Larry
Just
O'Brien
quiet.
Trophy.
Just
Very quiet.
Just enjoying the show.
Well, see, Larry can't show any biases, right? Like he can't lean towards Dallas or he lean towards OKC. He's just gotta just sit there, take it all in, and ultimately he will decide. He will decide who's worthy. Encourage him. Yes. He took it. Everything you said had an impact on who's going to win the championship. But thanks to everybody at the NBA for making this happen. It's good to see our good friend Larry. We know some great Larrys.
Yeah.
Larry French. Former camera operator, got us into a club once.
Yep.
Our guy Larry Luke here, the king of Atlanta.
He'll get you into anything.
He'll get us into anything.
Yep.
And now our good friend Larry here, Larry O'Brien.
Get us into basketball.
Yeah. Follow Larry's journey here as he makes his way to the NBA Finals. Go to @NBA Finals Trophy across all the social media channels. We're talking Instagram, Twitter, X, TikTok, Facebook. So go check that out. Again,
Fun to look at, man.
It is fun to look at. Yeah,
I can't
I'm
wait
just
to-
turning
Like
my
a
back.
fire or a baby. Can't take your eyes away.
It is like a baby.
Oh, so cute.
So cute.
Look at the way he just sits there.
All right. So thanks again to the NBA for bringing Larry here to the Classic Factory. Until tomorrow, Clipper Bros.
You heard it here first. Have a great time. Turn up. Love you guys. Awesome.
Thanks for joining us. And remember, when you see the Larry O'Brien Trophy, it has 0 fingerprints on it. Because I was looking for Vin's fingers, Tom's fingers when he touched them.
Buddy's paws.
Nothing.
No.
Just a clean Larry.
All right. Well, we're about to pick it up, so it's about to get messy. Race the day, people.